What about collaborating with the teams right now versus back then? Everything was, required physical presence. Right now, after whatever happened with COVID and Zoom and all these collaboration tools, a lot of people adopted the idea of working remotely, work-life balance, and taking it easy. Like, so are you still engaged with at the physical place, physical activities with your teammates, or some of the
Well,
teammates are remote?
it's yin and yang. A lot of it's remote, and that's a big advantage in today's world because you can get people and sit down with them on Zoom and discuss things with them where you had to fly to California or fly somewhere and it was more expensive and more difficult. On the other hand, I like having dinner with somebody I'm doing business with. I like to talk to them. I like to know them. I think that you need to do both. I don't think that you can ignore mentorship, which requires being right there and talking to somebody and answering their questions at the moment. And I don't think you can ignore the fact that we have this incredible world where you could talk to somebody in Europe or halfway around the globe and pitch them on investing and explain that to them what you're doing. I think you have to do both.
Interesting. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so let's go back to that first venture. You leveraged your practice. I guess you leveraged that experience and that practice working with people, marketing the services, selling the service, delivering the service. You applied same techniques in that new venture. So the
Well,
question is like, where at which point you actually started to monetize the second venture, and did you ever get to a place where you decided that the first venture was no longer needed? Because
yes, after 5 years of doing both, I could no longer do both physically. And I had a public company. So I had to segue from treating patients into running a company with 55 employees and give it my full time. And that's what I did. I maintained a teaching appointment at Harvard School of Dental Medicine, and I maintained, previous to that, I had a teaching appointment at the NYU College of Dentistry. So that was my way of maintaining my connection to my profession. But I no longer could do both. And that's when the charts go like this and you have to make a decision. So that's when I made that decision.
during that time, were you married, kids?
Oh yeah, I was married. I'm still married. I have two daughters, two son-in-laws, and four grandchildren. So it's all good.
How were you able to and give them time, since you all the timer for 5 years? You had to do both, so which kind of had to remove you from a lot of activities that usually one would need with the family.
No, let me tell you something. I went to every parent-child conference. I went wherever I could when it was required. I wasn't one of these guys that could walk to work with a cup of coffee and sit with the teacher and schmooze because I didn't have a trust fund, like a lot of people do who send their kids to private school. I had to work to pay tuition, but I accounted for every minute. I made every minute count. I started at 4:30 or 5 in the morning, and until 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night, I didn't stop. And a lot of it is knowing how to use every single minute of your time efficiently. And that's what I did. And that's what I still do.
Interesting. And you already had that built in you, reflecting and valuing
That's innate.
time.
But yeah, that's innate. Knowing how to use time efficiently. I mean, you could learn it, but I get up at 4:30, 5 o'clock and swim every day. And then I do my emails and then I do my paperwork and then I see some patients and I go back and forth between business lunches and business meetings and so I just manage to use every minute that I can.
And I guess that kind of helped you to speed up that growth, right? And you said 5, 6 years you were already publicly traded.
Yeah, if you're not on top of the details and you're not on top of people and you don't remain tenacious, you will lose days and days will be weeks and weeks will be months and months will be years. It can slip that easily. You have to really stay focused all the time on the goal line.